Hello, today we're going to be talking about Chapter 13, Retail Pricing and how it relates to Von Maur. This is done by me, David Pinkerton, Kyle Morass, Mira Walsh, and Brianna Lowe. So I'm going to talk a little bit about setting SKU prices. Von Maur uses all three major SKU pricing methods: the cost-based method, the price sensitivity method, and the competition method. They mainly use the cost-based method, because they have to take into account the cost of producing or acquiring products. A lot of times, Von Maur does acquire products from other vendors like Kenneth Cole, Calvin Klein, or Burberry, but then they have to add a markup price once they get these products in order to make a profit. They also use competition, plays into their cost-based method. The competition-based pricing role plays a big role because they cannot mark these products up too high, or else their customers will start going to their competitors and buying the same products for a lesser price. So they have to keep in mind what their competition is setting their prices at and be around the same ballpark for that. They also implemented an in-store price matching policy where they would be able to match the price of a product found at their competitors, but they have not brought that to their online retailing outlet. They partially use the price sensitivity method. Like I said before, most products come from high-end brands like Kenneth Cole, Calvin Klein, but they have to be careful, like I said, of marking up their prices because it can deter some of their customers, and they will not be able to keep competition going between their competitors. They will lose their competition. So but that's how they implement their SKU pricing methods.
So, when Bon Mar is deciding on their sale prices, the first step for any retailer is to determine your pricing strategy. So, a pricing strategy is a particular combination of pricing components designed to appeal to a firm's target customers and contribute to achieving a firm's goals. So, throughout the book, it mentions a lot about everyday low pricing as well as high low pricing. However, we decided that Bon Mar follows the prestige pricing strategy. So, specifically, this pricing strategy promotes quality, value, and high levels of service to its customers who are willing to pay at first price, or above market pricing strategy. So basically, that first price is really key in that sentence because it's the price that has not been touched with reductions or anything like that. And typically, the customers that come into a store such as Von Maur are willing to pay that first price and aren't really looking for deals. So also, it follows the idea that it's permanent markdowns that are taken seasonally as well as semi-annually through clearance sales in order to manage their inventory. And the one word that's really key in that sentence is permanent. So those permanent markdowns, as we all know, really only happen once. And typically, after that markdown happens and it might not still sell, you might not see it in the store ever again because it happens once at those semi-annual clearance sales or during those seasonal sales. So to follow with that idea is the idea of inelastic goods, and that's the majority of goods within Von Maur. Typically, they're high end, and the concept behind inelastic is the fact that price could change slightly and it specifically go up. However, we as consumers won't be affected by it for a variety of reasons, if at all. So typically in the book, it mentioned the idea of cheeseburgers. So cheeseburgers specifically are elastic, which means that if the price goes up, we're going to notice, and that's going to affect our purchase decision. And that specifically is guided by the idea of substitutes. There are many places you can get a cheeseburger. However, Christian Louboutin heels, specifically, you're not going to be able to buy those in many different retailers, if at all. Specifically, you might only be able to buy it from the designer themselves. So for individuals who are interested in purchasing a pair of Christian Louboutin heels, their hands are kind of tied in terms of where they can buy them, so they might not mind a slight increase or might not even notice it because that specifically is what they want and that's the only place that they can get it. This is seen a lot in Von Maur, as you might not get as many substitutes without risking the decrease in quality, which means that a lot of these customers that walk into Von Maur are going to pay that full price for that inelastic item because that's what they need and that's what they want, and they don't have any other substitutes for it. So that follows through with the prestige pricing policy. There are highs and lows to this idea. So the higher priced items will be bought, which means that they get a higher revenue. It's important to keep these items on first price as long as possible for that reason. In addition, the downfall to it is the fact that it's might be a little bit more difficult to make those rushed, quick reductions like other retailers, lower price retailers specifically can, because that's where a lot of their money comes from. Markdowns are a great tool to clear inventory, but it also means a lower revenue. However, due to the inelasticity, they don't really have to worry about making those sales because if it's products that their customers want, their customers aren't going to mind paying the little bit extra if they genuinely want it. So why put it on sale? So specifically for me, I noticed that their main issue with sales and how their sales typically come about are because they have a lot of slow selling merchandise, which sometimes leads to overstocks. Slow selling merchandise can cause numerous issues for the retailers, such as overstocks, which is why products need to be sold through markdowns both temporarily and permanently. So a markdown is the difference between your first price, as we mentioned before, and a promotional or clearance price. An overstock is a supplier quantity in excess of. So typically when you have slow selling merchandise, it's not selling as much as the buyer expects it to or expected it to when they put it in the store. So that leads to overstocks. Nothing is selling. We have a lot of it. Let's put it on sale. So what I noticed specifically when I worked in the store was that during their annual inventory, there were a lot of overstocked items. Specifically in cosmetics, I found it slightly alarming that they had so many overstocks, sometimes between 50 to 100 more after the cases were already filled. And with cosmetics, unlike clothing, these cosmetics sometimes can go bad. So I think that should be a main worry of theirs, and I believe that it is because with a lot of their products, in response to this issue, they came up with the idea of doing first, second, and third markdowns at the end of the selling period. Some items will go all the way to that third markdown. It'll be marked down the first time if it's not sold, the second time, and sometimes down to a third. Some items, if it's not selling whatsoever, they completely pull it off the rack or off the shelf, which definitely has worked in their favor because they don't have too many clearance racks as you see throughout the store, which I think definitely saves them a lot of space physically and also financially. It definitely saves them a lot of lost sales. So after trying to find some charts, I found that in my merchandising books, it has this chart, and I find that it makes the best comparison of all the different pricing strategies. So as you can see with the prestige pricing strategy, it's actually similar to the everyday low pricing strategy, one that's the complete opposite of it. However, you can see that the prestige pricing strategy is priced higher from the very beginning all the way to almost the end of the selling period. As I said before, the clearance sales are semi-annual at the end of the selling period and are sometimes seasonal as well. So you can see that at the end, the price is cut in half to $70, and it stays that way, and then it starts all over the new selling period at the highest price and continues so throughout the period. So I definitely wanted to add this into the presentation as it gives the best visual example of these different pricing strategies.
All right, so some of the types of price promotions discussed throughout this chapter. We talked a little bit about coupons. So this offers a discount on the price of specific items when they are purchased. Price bundling means that the practice of offering two or more different products or services for sale at one price. We also talked about quantity discounts. This means this is the practice of offering two or more similar products or services for sale at one lower total price. Also, there was zone pricing, which is the practice of charging different prices in different stores, markets, regions, or zones. And then there was also leader pricing, and this is the practice of pricing certain items lower than normal to increase customers' traffic flow or boost sales of complementary products throughout the store. When we look at Von Maur's price promotions, we found out that Von Maur really does only use price lining. Price lining was another term that we found in this past chapter, and it means that it's a retailer that uses a limited number of predetermined price points within a merchandise category. They mostly use they mostly price their items at their original price for about 2 weeks at any location before they send them to the clearance section. So they give them a little amount of time to have their brand new items on the floor and at their original prices before they're moved. Von Maur uses clearance markdowns to not only attract different market segments based on the customer's degree of price sensitivity, but also to let customers come in and find those on sale items. They are always all placed together in whatever section or department they're searching for in the store. So let's say you are going shopping for some shoes, but you're like, I don't really have enough money to pay the full amount. I'll go check out the clearance section. So you can go strictly to the shoes department when you visit Von Maur, or the juniors department, or the men's, or like beauty, and you can find that clearance those clearance items. This helps make it easier for their customers when navigating to just sale items if that's what they're looking for, as well as navigating to their perspective shopping preference.
All right, so regulatory issues that impact pricing. Overarching concept is when retailers need to set prices that will allow them to maintain a consistent clientele base while also incurring a sustainable profit. Without this balance, issues begin to appear. Regarding target market regulation, it's important for retailers to understand their target markets financially, mentally, and physically. If not, this can lead to major pricing issues and numerous permanent markdowns, which no company wants to see. The economic status of customers can create issues in how much they're willing to spend on products. Household income, a lot of factors go into what the customer is going to be buying, whether it's the quality, the price, and just what the customer can afford to spend. Von Maur being a high-end retailer comes a major concern when there is an economic downturn, as customers will only budget for staple items, things that they need, and maybe push away the wants for right now. When customers cannot afford to purchase items, markdowns and price adjustments obviously have to be made. We all know how that happens in stores, sales, markdowns. Those are things we love to see, but companies, they really don't want to have those. Poor inventory regulation. When inventory overstocks occur due to slow selling merchandise, markdowns commonly follow, as I just said. Additional markdowns can put retailers at a risk of reducing prices below the cost of the item that the retailer paid initially, leading to a loss in the company's overall net sales. Last but not least, poor inventory control forces the buyer to determine when, how much, and for how long the markdown should happen for certain products. I know, being at a store, if I see a sale or markdown, the thought comes into my head of, if I wait a week, will this markdown still be here? It's not really for us to decide. So, but yeah.
This is our reference page where we got all of our information. We got a lot of information from the book and some online sources as well. Mira interviewed Miss Alexandria Wolf, Von Maur College Hill store manager. She was very helpful. And that wraps up our presentation about Von Maur and how they set their retail pricings and issues that come with that.